So, hello everyone. Welcome to Wind Down Friday. Today, our guest is Patrick Leffer. Hi, Patrick. Thanks a
Hey,
lot for coming on. How are
hi,
you?
hi, Mauricio. I'm doing good, doing good.
Good. So, Patrick, uh, so your name is Patrick Jean-François Leffer, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. It sounds a little bit French, isn't it?
Yes, you are French.
That's right. I'm born nearby Paris and grew up partly south in a small village called Saint-Tropez. And then after that, I've been traveling quite a lot.
Good. Where are you located? In Sweden.
Right now, I'm in Stockholm. As you can see behind me, this wonderful view of downtown. I moved to Stockholm, in fact, 26 years ago when I joined Ericsson. It's a very long story. I'm really a little bit far away from Saint-Tropez.
Good. Okay, so Patrick, you have a strong career in electronics, in power electronics in particular. You have a degree in civil engineer, and then you started your career in power electronics. Just curiosity. So your first project was about DC-DC converters. So tell me more about your first one.
Yeah, that's interesting. And for many, it might sound like I am a dinosaur. Being 40 years in the power electronic, I know you interview Alex Lido, that is to me my mentor in new technology. But when I started in 1982, the first project was to design an hybrid DC-DC converter. At that time, it was no PWM really available on the market. It was not even SMD component. You had to buy the die chips and do a chips bonding on the ceramic substrate. And then the problem was, how can we package like a 5-watt power in a small matchbox size? Topology that we used at that time was an auto-selecting flyback of push-pull with post regulations. And then everything was based on the ceramic substrate, thick film technology, chips bonding, and molding. The first product was absolutely fantastic. We had an efficiency of 35%. It was very good to eat your tea, but probably not what you expect as a commercial product. Then gradually we improved the product. We modified a bit, moved to a flyback technology, and then we finally released a commercial product that we sold all over the world. It was a start, very the basic start, moving from nowhere to something on a microelectronic technology.
So you are working for Powerbox now. So Powerbox has been acquired by Cosel, Japanese company. So as you mentioned, you started your career at Ericsson. Before going into Ericsson, so this experience. As I said earlier, you have a long career in power electronics, 40 years. Starting from this first project until now, so power electronics is changed. So is changing. And you are seeing a lot of transformations. So tell me your feedback. Also, and advice for young people. I think that you have a son that is studying computer science, I guess, and advice for young people that are starting to study power electronics.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, feeling a dinosaur. Starting when I started my career, it was a linear power. It was not even switching. I've been from linear to switching, from switching bipolar to MOSFET, synchronous rectifications, and then when I joined Ericsson in 1996, I continued the journey and then 2000 2005 starting digital power. And then now I joined Powerbox in 2015. We are considering GaN and wide bandgap technology. For me, it has been an amazing journey. And I very often use to say that learning is everything. If you lose your passion to learn, to discover, then just stop, do something else, and go maybe to your wonderful background and do windsurfing. But what is very important as a message is that don't stop learning and don't stop to be passionate. I remember when I was around in the 90s, it was some kind of crisis. The power electronic was losing interest from students because it was not, excuse me for the expression, sexy. And then rapidly when the digital power came, it became very, very trendy. It was very interesting because what we have seen in the learning curve for student and university, it was a less interest during the 90s and a bump now with digital power and wide band gap and also this electrical vehicle and electrification. I said it's a huge transformation. But I had the feeling it was 40 years, seems to be a long time ago, but I have the feeling it was just yesterday. Just talking to you, I remember exactly the lab, how it looks, and when we solder and chip bond the component. And now we're talking a wide band gap. At EPEC, it was a plenary session about installing human on moon. I'm writing an article about that. It's just fantastic. If you're a student, if you like technology, if you like the power electronic, just continue to learn and go ahead.
Good. So you spend a lot at Ericsson, as you said. You moved in Sweden. You are French, as you said at the introduction. So the first thing that you missed when you moved in Sweden?
It's always a very tricky question because I mean the people in Sweden, you love them, you love the country, you enjoy living here. If not, probably I would have moved somewhere else. But that's definitely when you. I guess it's the same for everybody, but when you grow in France, it doesn't matter if you grow in Saint-Tropez, Paris, Lille, wherever it is, you have a certain feeling about the country. For sure, I like food, wine, topic of today, but I like traveling, meeting people, and also that I feel that I have my roots, my family, the history of my family, long history, and also that a certain way of living, style of living, and without talking about wine, I would say that even in Sweden we have Systembolaget. I really miss the huge shops where you can buy a wonderful wine for all over the world. In France, even Systembolaget is not too bad, but I probably miss my roots.
So, Patrick, you have been a speaker in our Power Up conferences. So last year, in particular, about energy. So you talked in the future of energy panel. I mean, now we are going towards a particular period where the energy is a key focus. So energy demand is changing. I mean, also because we should leave the planet to our children. So in the best possible way. So we are living in this planet. We need to take care. I mean, so our energy demand is changing for you. What meaning change in this case? What is the next step that the people should do in terms of energy?
Well, it's a very relevant question, and especially nowadays when apparently Europe is going to face a shortage from gas and oil from a certain country, but also that as we know, electrification is a very important step. Reducing that the European has signed something that is called the European Green Deal, with a very defined target about being carbon neutral in 2050, with the first step in 2030. That means changing a lot of things. Today we have a lot of debate about green energy. What is green energy, renewable energy? But also that it's a complete transformation of the society. Electrification is a little bit like when we move from the old days to the steam machine, from a horse track and to steam machine and transportations. It's the same type of transportation. The problem is it's very often so fragmented in terms of discussion, decision, and politicals that it's very difficult to bring the whole pictures. Electrification will take place in many areas where today, for example, we use gas for like heating. we believe that heat pump will replace conventional gas heating system. Hydrogen is a source of energy that I love especially, and I think it's a very interesting one. And every time you start to go with hydrogen, immediately people jump on you and say, "Oh, the cost of hydrogen is so high." Well, look at the price of the gas today. Probably hydrogen will be soon cheaper. But the hydrogen, despite of having pros and cons, is definitely an energy source that I see in the futures. And electrification, that McKinsey just released a report that shows that in 2015 we will need 3 times more electricity than we use today. It requires maybe a different approach in terms of energy. We know that France has decided to build and refresh their nuclear plant. Some other countries have decided to shut down. But to me, I believe in fusion. I know this is something that has been on discussion for almost 100 years. A lot of discussion, debate, tentative, but I strongly believe that will be a good source of energy for maybe not during my lifetime, but for the future generation.
Yeah, you mean that fusion is the holy grail of energy. So this is the next step for energy, because I mean, in the next year, as you said, we will have a lot of energy also for the electrification. We need to switch in green as soon as possible. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, one problem we talk about energy, it's very fragmented discussion. Even in Europe, the politicians, you see the different countries cannot really agree on the strategy. But at the end, if you really would like to go for this increase in electrification, decrease of the CO2 emissions, you need to do something else. And you need to generate more energy. You can cover with a solar panel the whole territory. You can do a lot, but it's very far away from the equation with demand. That's why, in terms of source energy, France, for them, they have decided to refresh and build new power plant or nuclear power plant on the traditional, like now the EPR and such technology. But we know that it's for a transition period. We know that if we would like to sustain our society with an energy that is clean and, I would say, in volumes and capacity, we need to do something else. And then in this, to do something else, there are not so many options. There are a lot of experimentations. You can do a lot of small things, but the big things to me is the fusion. And today we have this ITER project, which is an international project in Cadarache, in the south part of France. Unfortunately, this project might be too massive. What we have learned is that when you develop this type of fusion reactor in such a scale, it's a huge work. Now we see more like a small-scale fusion reactor that are developed there to there in UK. They are breaking record almost every month. I believe probably ITER will be a wonderful experimentations, but it might not turn on until 2050. Especially now, there's a lot of question about supply from like the part of ITER coming from Russia. Will it come or not? We don't know. But I believe fusion will probably see more evolution from small project than from ITER. And definitely, I believe in fusion. I might be wrong.
Good. So, Patrick, weekend is coming. So, tell me your next project, your next holiday with your family. Tell me about your family, your reading. So, what do you prefer in terms of reading, in particular, which wine?
Good question. Especially, we will celebrate during the weekend, but the 4th of May for me is my wedding anniversary. We are celebrating 26 years of union today. Just for the story that we married the 4th of May and we moved to Sweden the 16th. It was a long story. And then this weekend, probably, I guess, we'll celebrate with our family. I mentioned my son. He's now 21, a big boy, studying at the KTH, which is the Royal Institute of Technology, and ending a bachelor this year and going for a master next year. And my big regret is that he hasn't followed the technology path and the power electronic. But maybe maybe we'll come back to the power electronic another day. In terms of wine, I have a wonderful bottle that I would like to show to you, but I'm not sure it will work on the screen. It's a Vaughan Romanée 1984. And then this bottle, I mean, the screen effect is very bad, but I can guarantee you it's a Vaughan Romanée 1984. When I moved to France, you ask me what I miss the most. I cannot bring with me my wine collections. I had about, I don't know, 500 bottles with about 50 for a collection like this one. I brought only 2 with me. In terms of wine, what wine do I like? Hard to say. As I've been traveling all over the world, living in many countries, I could say I love wine in general speaking. In France, Saint-Estèphe, maybe Château Haut-Marbuzet, Vaughan Romanée, Cron-l'Hermitage. But I also like wine from regions like Pyrenees or Southwest, and for sure rosé from Provence. I would say the weekend might be busy. And regarding the book, I just finished a book from Alex Lido. you know this guy. And it was very interesting to see how Alex connected the GAN to applications. And now I understood that he's moving to space, and I love that. My reading right now is a book called Les Chemins de la Mer from a university person that wrote a story about Saint-Tropez in 15th, 16th, and 18th century, when at that time Saint-Tropez was a really, really strong harbor for the négoce wine and also military. It's very interesting, probably too much technical for me, but it's a wonderful book.
Merci, Patrick. Thanks a lot for having you in this wind down Friday. Thank you.
Thank you, Mauricio. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Good weekend.
Ciao,
Bye.
ciao. Hey, do.